So Archer, you just enter the room. I'm going to ask you to find yourself in a group, groups of 6. So each person should be in a group. I believe it's 24 students in this class. Groups of 6. Please send it to me by the end of the day, your group members. All right, so ladies, so what we're going to do today is we're going to do the Maroons. We're going to start Maroons. We haven't done Maroons. And next week, we want to finish Resistance and Revolt. All right? Let us see how we can finish Maroons this week. And then next week, we can finish the other stuff. All right, so for this class, what we're going to look at, some key terms. Under Maroon, the first one is marriage. Which actually means to run away from the plantation. Enslaved people would have run away from the plantation. Some ran away from the plantation permanently for a very long period, never to return. That is called grand marriage, or some people pronounce it marriage. So marriage, and petit marriage, which is to run away temporary. So people usually run away temporary to look for their lover, to go on the plantation. They got whipped. They didn't like the treatment, so they ran away. And the truth is that planters turned a blind eye to it. There's one record of this enslaved woman who ran away from her plantation, not for a very long time, for a very short time. And her picture, they had her stuff all over, not really a picture, but had her name all over, that they were searching for her. And she was actually in Ligani selling plantains. Not only that she was in Ligani selling plantains, but she was actually with her boyfriend. So she went to look for her boyfriend. She sells some plantains, and then she go back to her plantation. When the planter decide that he's looking for her, she's wondering, why are you looking for me for? I'm just gone for a few days. Some gone for some months. And they return to the plantation. Now, the Tainos were the first Maroons in the Caribbean. And we know for sure that the Tainos, they would have fled Spanish oppression. What was the name of the oppressive system that the Spanish inflicted upon the Tainos? What was the name of?
The encomienda.
The encomienda system. Very well. So because of the harsh treatment of the encomienda system, some of the Tainos would have fled to the mountains, and they would have established the first Maroon settlements in the Caribbean. Now, Maroon settlements in the Caribbean was quite extensive. We had Maroons in Jamaica, Maroons in, it's not Trinidad, Maroons in Jamaica, Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Suriname, Guyana, Puerto Rico. These were some of the islands that are, sorry, not islands, because Suriname and Guyana, they are not islands, they are mainland territories. These were some of the mainland territories, ladies, that Maroons would have settled. All right? That they would have settled. Now, just a recap before we go further in the lesson. Banton. Chantel?
Yes, sir.
How are you doing?
Sir, I'm okay.
All right, good to know. The when we use the word marinage, what are we talking about?
Sir, when we talk, Sir, Marina just talking about when the slaves run away from the plantations.
To run away from the planting. All right, good. Thank you very much. Blake,
Yes, sir.
when we talk about grand marinage, what are we talking about?
We're talking about the people leaving the slave plantation permanently.
All right, very well. Ashley, Daniel Ashley, Daniel Ashley. Is Daniel Ashley in the class? Britain.
Yes, sir.
When we talk about petit marinage, what are we talking about?
Sir, we're talking about it's like temporary violence. Wait, no,
Tempo
it's temporary, but it rarely includes violence and destruction.
okay, so they run away for a very short
Short time.
period of
Yes, sir.
time. All right, good. All right, ladies, another one that I didn't mention is maritime maroons. Maritime Maroons, and these were enslaved. For example, in the Eastern Caribbean islands, that the islands were so small, enslaved people in those islands, they couldn't really run away from one end of the island to the next. So what they did was that they used, they ran away via the sea. So they jump on a boat, jump on a ship, swim across the island, and that's how they would have, that is maritime marinage. All right. So please note that that is one of the maritime marinage is one of the questions that is very popular on the exam. Very, very popular. All right, so now we understand the key concepts, and we would have also mentioned that the first Tainos were the first Maroons. The next one, so we're now going to look at Jamaica in the 1670s. When, in which year did the British took over Jamaica from from the Spanish? In which year?
1655.
In 1655. So that's the year when the English would have taken over Jamaica from the Spanish. Now, in 1655, the Spanish didn't leave immediately. There was constant, I wouldn't say they didn't leave, but right up to the 1670s, there were constant warfare with a Maroon settlement that was established. So the Spanish, they enslaved Africans also, but it was not a lot of Africans that they would have brought in and enslaved in Jamaica, because remember that Jamaica was not effective. It was occupied, but not, it was not occupied like the island of Hispaniola or Cuba. It just had a few hundreds Spaniards that lived on the islands, and they had enslaved Africans. Now, some of these enslaved Africans fled to the mountains, and one of such person was called Juan de Bolas. So he was the first Maroon leader in Jamaica. And when the English came, he would have harassed the English. He gave the English quite a lot of problems when they came. Now, Wonderbolas Mountain is located here, where you see this on my screen. It's in, if you follow the cursor right here, the mountain is located, and that's where they would have settled. Now, Wonderbolas is, anybody know a place that is called Worthy Park in St. Catherine?
Of it before.
Repeat.
Sir, I've heard of it before.
All right, good. Anybody have heard of a place called Point Hill in St. Catherine?
Yes, sir.
You have,
It pushy.
it's,
And yes, sir.
describe Point Hill for me.
Sir, it you have to go up in some hills to reach there, sir. And it have a lot of bush.
All right, good. Now, right up the side of Point Hill, Laudersvale, past Linstead, that area, the mountain. So when you're going into Linstead, if anybody have gone and you look at some mountains, you're looking at the mountains, you're looking at the Wonderbolas Mountains. Now, Wonderbolas was one of the leader of the Maroons, and what he did was that he would have, once the English came, he fought the English. But guess what he did? He joined the English after a period of time, and he got rid of the Spanish from Jamaica. And so the Spanish, because of his good act that he did in helping the English to take over the island of Jamaica, they gave him lands. All of the mountain, that area, the mountain area, the Wonderbola, and they call it the Wonderbolas Mountain. And you have communities in Wonderbolas now like Point Hill, Laudersvale, Worthy Park. Those are all the different. So Worthy Park is quite a beautiful place. Where am I? So that is the first Maroon leader that we had in Jamaica, that we know of. Obviously, the Tainos or the Tainos would have had their leaders, but the one that we know of in history that is written down is Wonderbolas. He received land. And so what he did was that he and his Maroons, they hunted wild pigs, they grew corn, planting yam, but his fellow Maroons did not approve of his leadership. Anywhere you go, and once you have people settled, there's always leadership problem. People just always bad mind each other. Bad mind is just part of human nature. You know that we have no idea of what he did. No record is there of what he did. All we knew was that they did not approve his leadership. Then just felt maybe that he was a dictator. I don't know. But what they did was that they killed him. His own Maroons in the mountains killed him. They ambush him, capture him, kill him. Anyway, so we move on now. And so after they killed him, he would have had quite a very good relationship with the English. And the English said, listen, we're going to take over back all of this mountain, all of this settlement area, because if all of this is going on, then you could be a thorn in our flesh. You could cause problem. You could even cause our enslaved people to want to come and kill us. Right? And so that Maroon settlement would have been destroyed by the English. Do you understand about the Maroon settlement in Wonderbolas Mountain?
Yes,
Is it
sir.
clear?
Yes, sir.
Who said yes?
Austin.
Austin. So very good. Thank you very much. Where is Nelson? Giselle Nelson. Have to. All right. So where am I now? So we look at the Maroons in Jamaica in the 1670s, won the bowlers. Thorpe, you can just recap for us the early Maroons in Jamaica?
So I'm recapping for you the early Maroons in Jamaica.
Yeah.
As you stated before, this I hate this. Um, words formulates. So you spoke about the different types of Maroons and where they lived. Oh my god, I hate. So some of them, as you said, with the whole Juan de Bolas thing, the English ended up finding his camp, and well, not his camp, but the British ended up finding out where he was, and they the foolishness. So I'm right formulating right now. The whole one Bolas, his own Maroons killed him, and you know when the British found that, they're like, okay, we don't want these people there because, of course, they're going to possibly be like a source of refuge for the enslaved, so they didn't want them there. So of course they destroyed that camp, and as much as they destroyed that one camp, there are still many other camps in the mountains who were taking in the enslaved who could afford to escape, and then they defended their quarters, and basically they kept to themselves and protected the sense of freedom that they had. They kept the African culture alive, and
Yeah, but before you reach there,
Sir, excuse me.
yes.
Sir, didn't they like already know where he was?
They knew where he was.
But you said they found him.
That's
Sir,
go ahead, Miller. Miller, recap for us.
Sir, so like one the bolas. Sir, when the English first came, he used to fight with them, but then he helped them overthrow the Spanish. So because of that, they gave him like his own place in the mountains.
Yes.
And then so like he grew crops and whatever in the mountains freely because they were his, but his other Maroons who he lived with hated him for like I guess no reason, and they killed him. So, and because of that, because they were good friends with Juan de Bolas, because the English were good friends with him, now that he was dead, they were no longer allies. They started to fight out the Maroons, basically.
Yes, very correct. Good try, Thorpe. But excellent. That Miller.
you're confused.
Huh?
I think Carl was confused, sir.
Yes, I was. Thank you.
But you understand now, Thorpe?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Zeta. Because I was about like as I was closing, if I was like, say I don't know what else to tell you after that.
All right. So we move away from Wonder Bowlers. And so the British now established settlements in Jamaica. And settlement, they established things like sugar plantations and all of these different stuff. However, at the time during the 1690s when they established sugar plantation, majority of the enslaved in Clarendon were from the Akan tribe, or what we call the Coromantee tribe.
Sir, can go back on the other slide, please, for
This
1 second. Yes.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
I can move on now.
Yes, sir. I was just looking at the year.
Okay, so the Maroons now, sorry, not the Maroons, the English now settled, they established plantations, they import Africans, right? But in Clarendon, majority of the Africans were from the Coromantee or the Akan tribe. And so they escaped their plantations in Clarendon and they settled in the Northeast Mountains, which is on this side of Jamaica. The north of Jamaica, the east. So they would have established towns like Crawford Town, Nanny Town, all of these mountains they would have gone. But at the time, the names didn't have Crawford or Nanny Town, all right? Now, Kuju was another name of a,
Isn't it Kojo?
yeah, it is pronounced Kuju or Kojo, right? You have Akompong, you have Johnny, you have Nanny, you have Kwako. These were all African enslaved, persons who were born in Africa. You ever hear this saying that, have you ever heard the saying that if you catch Kwako, you catch him?
But catch Quaco, but I'm sure it's something like that, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
something to that
Grandmother always
effect.
tell me.
Yes, it was in reference to one of Nani's brothers. In fact, Kujo or Kojo was Nani brother, Akompong, Johnny. All of them came from Africa. They were on the plantation in Clarendon and they would have moved, run away permanently from the plantation and lived in the mountains. So they would have established settlements in these parts of Jamaica. All right?
Yes,
Now,
sir.
why the enslaved Africans fled to the mountains? They fled to the mountains because it was inaccessible to the European soldiers. It was hard for the European soldiers to get there. The bloodhound dogs, those dogs were from Cuba, and the British brought in the dogs to hunt enslaved people who would have run away. The dogs really could not manage the terrain. They also got Mosquito Indians. These Mosquito Indians were from Nicaragua, and they brought in the Indians to help them to search for the Maroons. They also could not find them. All right?
Sir, why did they call him Mosquito Indian, sir?
The
Because
name of the name of the island. All right, the name of the place in which they came from was called Mosquito. Maybe it had a lot of mosquito. All right. So you have all of these. It was very difficult. And then the next thing is that the enslaved people ran away to the mountains because they wanted the freedom and they could not deal with the harsh treatments of slavery. They wanted to establish their own communities. And so these were some of the reasons why they would have fled to the mountains. Ladies, these are questions.
sir, you're sending us this PowerPoint today that I can write off the notes.
I'll send the PowerPoint. All right? I'll send it today.
Yes, sir.
But you should be right here. No, because as I talk here, right? Because everything I say is going to be on the PowerPoint. The next thing, ladies, is that the Maroons, so after the Maroons fled the plantations, they move into the mountains. They start to live into the mountains. example, in Suriname and Guyana, they didn't fled to the mountains. They fled into the hinterland, into the bushes. So the Maroons in Suriname and Ghana, they were called bush Negroes because Ghana, there's a lot of forested area. But in Jamaica, Cuba, there was a lot of mountains. And so for the Maroons now, they had a very, although they ran away from the plantation, they still came back to taunt the plantation. So they depended on the plantation for food. They come and they steal food from the plantation. They come to get weapons. Name some weapons that you think that they're going to get from the plantation.
Some gun.
Gun.
Some
What is the famous one that we use for everything?
barrel gun. No.
Handgun.
The machete, sir.
Machete. Very good. So they get guns, bullets, machetes, all of these different stuff, livestock. Then come to the plantation and they get a goat and then steal the goat. They steal 2 goats. And you're gone with the goat. The chicken. You see some fowl, you come and you teeth because you need to rear your own fowl too. You want chicken to eat. I don't know if they're gone with the cow. Because of course they would have come and teach the cows. So, but I'm wondering how they would have done that anyway. So they went with
But
live.
sir, if you manage to teach the ghost to go roam about the place and go ba 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 ba, then they can teach the cow too.
They could. Because in the night you could just come take the cow and you just take. Also they came for women. The Maroons, because majority of the Maroon villages were predominantly male, and so they came for women, right? Sometimes they also set the fields on fire, like the cane fields. They encourage other Africans to join them in the mountains. And while they are there, trying sabotaging the plantation, them ambush, they also ambush the whites, ambush and kill the whites. So the Maroons, they were a thorn in the flesh of the Europeans, right? Just as how the Europeans were a thorn in their flesh because they didn't allow them to want, like to survive. Now, ladies, the next thing that we're looking at, so we look now at the relationship between Maroons and the plantation. What is going to take place? Next thing, what were some of the factors that contributed to the development of Maroon communities? One of the main reasons that why Maroon communities were able to develop, right, is because of the geography or physical conditions in which they would have gone to settle. So, like for Jamaica, they settled in the mountains. The mountains were very isolated. Even today, a lot of people have never been to the mountains, certain mountains in Jamaica. People don't live there. Anybody has ever been to the cockpit country?
No, sir, not me. Not at all.
If you have ever had, yes.
Sir, I've been in the mountains before, but not cockpit country.
So
Yes.
I've gone to Blue Mountain.
And do you realize that there's really no much, and there's no settlement on Blue Mountain?
No, sir.
Exactly. And
Sir, but
so,
it's not like you can live up there.
yeah, but the Maroons would have lived up there. They would have lived there, but majority of the people, the terrain is so difficult because if you ever slip climbing up some of those mountains,
You roll till yeah.
trust me.
But sir, that's even just how like mountainous and hilly it is. Which what did you say? Why are we up there? Like, which GPS why are you going up there?
But
and
JP,
fix well and have
Them
like a
have light in the
residential
mountains. What you
settlement.
talking about?
When I finish my statement now, a residential settlement. Remember, say that there's a difference, you know. They're not going to put one person
Hey,
to isolate.
Carol, you when you're in Highland, like pity them Wi-Fi are good up there, cause when you're in Highland and you have like connection, it work better than when you're on lowland.
There are
Trust me.
residential highlands, Cherry Gardens, all those places.
but
Yeah, where
remember
Darling, but
those,
those
all
roads
right,
have
ladies,
been
but remember those, one
have been
second, remember
developed
those islands
accommodating.
are close to the town. So they wouldn't run away to
Sir,
those areas.
sir, you
Yes,
consider Red Hills like up, like where Chancery Hall is, sir?
yes.
Sir, you consider those parts close to the town?
Of course, they are close to the town. You can take 15, 20 minutes to come down to Price Smart,
halfway through.
even half a
Literally, not far.
There, I live in Red Hills and it takes 10 minutes to come off of the hill. Not
yeah, it's not that far as what you, listen, ladies, we're talking about deep, deep mountains, real bush. That's where the Maroons would have gone. The Maroons would not settle nowhere close
So, sir,
to the
why
coast.
the Maroons from in Clarendon, sir, why them never go to the Bullet Mountains instead of the Blue Mountains?
They went to the, why they went, why,
Oh, sir, must know what that him never did it.
exactly, but
But,
but maybe they had access to that mountains. The Europeans had access to that mountain.
sir, that is some bush. That mountain is a bush.
So, all right, now, ladies. So the geography would have contributed to the development of Maroon communities. In Suriname and Guyana, same thing. There was quite a lot of land on the inland, right? And so they would have, the geography would have facilitated the development of the bush Negroes. Another reason for the development was that European development patterns, most Europeans would have settled on the
On
coastal
lowland
area or the
food.
plain. So if you look at where most of the cities are located, they are located on the plains in most countries, or close to a sea. They never really venture inland. So it, for example, like Jamaica that have quite a lot of land, Cuba, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico that have quite a lot of land, people easily could have established settlements in those areas. Same thing with Ghana. Ghana is so big, and Suriname. Even today, people don't
Fox.
settle in some of these areas in Ghana and Suriname, right? And so because of that now, ladies, we have the development of maroon areas. Another, one second. Another factor that led to the development of maroon settlements is that they were able to defend themselves. Because they were on the mountains or because they were in the hinterland, way inland, for example, the bush Negroes, they established things like lookout posts. They look out to see if people coming up the mountains.
Mhm.
They also had military experience from Africa. Remember, most of them were African born enslaved people, Nanny and her brothers. You see,
Hmm.
they come and take over and establish all of these maroon settlements in Jamaica. The next thing, ladies, is that they had a bang, which is like a cow horn. And
Ooh.
so they use the abeng to make sonar signals. So if somebody is come, they each, for example, they know the type of sound to make when danger is coming, or everybody know the different sounds. And they also had
They
gorilla.
have different sounds.
Alright.
Yes,
Yeah,
they.
low to high. Maybe I
I'm
think
just
like
saying, it
Yeah,
sounds horrible.
the abeng has different. You can blow it different ways, right? So you have times of for joy. You have time for you blow it
morning.
in morning. You have so when somebody die, they blow it a certain way. When danger is appearing, approaching, same thing.
Celebration.
Celebration, all of these different stuff. So everybody knew what the signals were. Then another thing is that the guerrilla tactics, they camouflage themselves in the bush, cover themselves in the bush, and once the white man come, you just kick him off right down and make him break his neck, right? So guerrilla tactics. Another thing that contributed to the development of Maroons were their leadership. Kuju leadership, you have to look at the leadership of Kuju, Nani, Taki, our brother, Kwako, all of these different persons. And so the leadership contributed to the development of Maroon communities. The next thing, ladies, was factors. Another factor was that frequent infusion of new runaway slaves. Every minute, new
Them.
new enslaved people come to join. So once they come, you know you can't come empty-handed. Not like when some people go into people yard, you come with your bare hands. No, no, no. You come out, you want to settle, you have to do two things. You have to bring food and you have to bring information. Tell me what they're planning down there. Listen. You bring weapon also. All of these different stuff you need to bring. So the thing now, ladies, is that the Maroon settlements, these were some of the factors that helped to develop the settlements and allow them to continue. And also they were self-sufficient. They hunted for birds, they hunted for wild pigs, they planted their own food, right? So not every time you're going to eat chicken, because for you to get chicken, you have to go down to the plantation to steal. So
Find some wild folks, sir.
sometimes you have to find, like, for example, a
Hidden.
pigeon, and you cook it. Oh, pigeon soup tastes good. That's what I was told. I don't know. But you could, all of these different stuff that they would have done. These were some of the factors that would have contributed to Maroon settlement. Now, ladies, some of the challenges that they had. So we know that the settlements were developed. Some of the challenges or difficulties that they had was that they faced constant attack by Europeans. Europeans came in, they destroyed their provision ground. Villages such as Nanitown was completely destroyed. Troops, British troops always coming in to destroy them. The dogs from Cuba, the Mosquito Indians, they're always under attacks. They also had disunity in the Maroon villages, which was another challenge.
Bad man.
Competition for women, leadership struggles, especially women. Anywhere you know they are going to fight is a small number of women in the community, they are going to fight for females. Dependency on the plantation. Another thing is that challenge they had was that they were so dependent on the plantation for weapons, for women, for food. And another thing, ladies, the harsh condition that they would have encountered. Harsh environmental conditions such as snakes, the terrain. The terrain was very difficult. They had water problem.
That's sorry, that's why they should have think of going somewhere that is close to a river.
But sometimes sometimes you might have drought or something like you have river, but sometimes you have to depend on the rainfall. But I understand what you are saying. But it was so difficult for them because remember that they are runaway, they are hiding, and more time or most of the time, you can't really settle along the river because the British can easily follow the river pattern to
True
try
that.
and so you try to keep away from the river and go England where they can't really find you. The next slide, ladies, survival. How did they survive? The guerrilla tactics, signal system. They had signal systems, the abeng sound, the drums, they make certain sound. They knew the terrain better than the English. They knew it. They also food. They planted their own food. They fish at times. They hunt. When they're sick, they have their own bush medicines that
Medicine.
they would have
Sir,
used. Go ahead.
sir, I'm convinced that my grandmother was a Maroon, because the amount of bush medicine she knew.
Mm-hmm.
Every sickness, sir, she have a treatment for it with bush medicine.
True. That is true. A lot of our family members have especially our grandparents, know the bush medicine very well. And another way in which they survive is through the signing of treaties. Now, tomorrow, ladies, what we're going to do, we are going to do the first and the second Maroon War, second Maroon War, and we're going to see if we can do the Bush Negroes tomorrow. We have to finish Maroon tomorrow. By the end of today, ladies, please send me your groups. Everybody should be in a group. There should be 6 persons in a group. Just send it to me and I
Sir, group for what?
will get back to you on what you're supposed to do. So you have to do it today. All right, ladies, enjoy the rest of the day.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Go ahead.
group for what?